counting up the cost before we make decisions and make actions that's going to affect more than just us, because our decisions and our actions affect those that are around us. It affects our loved ones. It affects our employment. It affects our state of being and our state of mind, to where now we may be different and act different towards those that we come in contact with, because we didn't count up the cost, you or me, when it comes to our decisions of things that we want and things that we want to obtain. You dig? You ever get so caught up into wanting something so bad, right? And to where you start to contemplate, you start to devise strategies and plans. You start to think how you can make this thing come to pass in an expedient amount of time, right? You weren't given a time limit when you were told this particular news. You might have received some news, and there was no time limit to get on the news. The news was given and said something is going to happen, right? You were told something's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen. You just know that you were told it's going to happen. You're excited about this thing. You're a little apprehensive, but you're kind of looking forward to it. But then you're a little kind of, man, what kind of changes it's going to bring in my life and all this kind of stuff. But you're somewhat looking forward to it for the most part. Again, you haven't been given a time limit, so you're looking forward to it. You're dreaming about it. You're planning. You're wondering what it'll be when it comes, and all these new and exciting and kind of maybe a little overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? A little bit much. Now you're starting to, like I said, ponder and think, but it's not coming fast enough. It's not coming the way you think it should come, the way you think it ought to come. It's not happening according to your design and your plan. So what do we do? What do we always do? I don't care what color, what creed, nationality, gender. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what your as human natured people born into sin. What is it that we always do when things don't go our way, or when things don't go how we think it should go, or the way we think it should happen? And our first reaction is to put our hand to help out. What can I do to bring this about? What can I do to make sure this goes the way that I want it to go? What can I do to expedite this process? What can I do to get the maximum benefit? What can I do? That's our first reaction as humans when things don't go our way, right? What can I do? Well, most of the time you can't do nothing but screw it up more. You dig? But usually that's the first question we ask. What can I do? And then if there's nothing that we think that we can do, then other questions start to come. But so let's just stay right there. Let's just deal with that, right? When you can't get your way, things ain't happening fast enough, when it ain't looking like you had envisioned it to look and plan and come out the way that you saw it in your mind, then you want to put your hand to help. You want to put your hand, what can I do? When somebody's working on a project, right? And it's for you, but they ain't moving fast enough. It ain't coming together fast enough. It's not looking like you envisioned it to look. First thing you're gonna say is, hey guys, what can I do to help? What can I do to help out? You know what I'm saying? We're on time limit, whatever. You did? We always want to try to help out, knowing that if you had the know-how and the resources and the power to help out from the beginning, from the get-go, you wouldn't have been asking nobody to help you in the first place. Am I right? There'd be no need for you to be asking for help and asking if this was, if you had what you needed, you wouldn't have to ask for no help. You can just go do what you need to do. Build it how you want it. Make sure it looks the way you would. Make sure it's being enacted and the plans are going forth and things are being done how you envisioned it. But that's not the case. I don't have the resources I need to do what I want to do, and neither do you. And this is why we go to the Lord and we seek him in prayer so that he can bring about the resources that we need, instead of us trying to put our hand to it and figure it out. We always mess up when we do that. You ever have someone come to you and say, oh man, let me help you out. Let me help you out with that. You know what I'm saying? If you let me help you out with that, it'll be better for you and me, right? When really they're thinking about themselves, right? Let me help you out with this situation, and it'll be better for you. Have you ever said that to somebody? Okay, now let's flip that, because this is what I want to talk about. Hey, listen, can you help me out? Because if you help me out, it'll be better for me, right? I need your help. How many times have we done that? Ask somebody for something, trying to make things go smoother or easier or be more efficient, faster, or more proficient. How many times have we stepped in and said, can you help me? I need you to do this for me, because if you do this, it would help me out in this area. If you did this, it would greatly help in this particular area, right? I know we've all done it at some point. We've all said, hey, listen, if you do this for me, it's going to be better for me. It's going to work out for me. I really need your help in this area. And then what we turn around and do, we don't count up the costs most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Because we think the person's really in need. They're really hurting. They're in dire straits. You know what I'm saying? And if our heart is in the right place, we want to help. We want to be, that person that helps someone out in a time of need, because we all know that we've had times of need. But a lot of times we don't count up the cost. When someone says, hey, I need your help. Can you help me in this area? Or can you help me do that? We don't count up the cost and say, hey, let me pray about that. Give me some time to think about that. Let me consider that. Most of the time, I'm just saying, we may do that sometimes, but most of the time, that's not our first reaction. Our first reaction is trying to figure out if we can help this person, because they're a friend or they're a loved one or someone that really seems like they're in need, right? But we don't go to God and pray. We don't seek enlightenment. We don't meditate on that thing and see if that thing is really resonating with us, if that's what we're supposed to do. And so that's what I want to talk about today. When we get in the way and we ask someone for help to help us, so it'll be a benefit unto us, right? Most of the time we're not thinking about the other person. We're not thinking about, how what we're asking what it may do to that person we're asking, how it may affect their life. Most of the time, we're just really thinking about self and being self-centered and thinking about our needs and what it is that we want to obtain. Yeah, that's the key right there. What it is that we want to obtain, without considering and thinking about how it will affect not only us down the road, but also affect other people. You did? We're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 16, the second verse, right? And we're going to break this down, and we're going to see some things on today. But before we do that, please like this video and share this video on all your platforms with all your family and friends, with everybody you know, because they need to hear the word. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button right there. It doesn't cost you anything to do that, right? Subscribe to the channel. And also make sure you hit the bell notification and turn the notifications on so you're always notified whenever Levon says uploads content. You dig? All right, so now let's read the scripture and get into this. Okay, the scripture says in Genesis, the 16th chapter, right, and the second verse, and it says, and so she said to Abram, meaning Sarai, his wife, she said to Abram, the Lord has kept me or restrained me from having children. Go sleep with my maidservant, Hagar. Perhaps I can build or I can obtain a family through her. Genesis 16:2. You dig? You, young women or mature older women that may be married or thinking about contemplating getting married, I'm sure at some point you wanted a family. You know what I'm saying? When you got married to your husband, if you didn't already have children, you wanted children, right? Most married women want a family. You know, they want to maybe enjoy being, with newly married and doing things with their husband and enjoying life. But at some point, most women want a family. You dig? A family of their own, not necessarily, well, he got kids but we never had it, or, already had kids, but we never had it. Most women want a family if they don't have children. And if they do have children and they're with a husband, they want children with that husband. Not in all cases. This is my opinion. I'm just saying I believe most married women who marry want a family. This was Sarai's case. Sarah, okay? She was Sarai at the time, but this was Sarah's case. She wanted a family. She'd been, with Abraham, and they didn't have no kids. She wanted a family. But as time went on, they never had any kids, right? He was doing his thing, and she was supporting him. He was doing his thing in the ministry, and she was supporting him, right? But they never had no children. So she going to come up with a plan. She's going to devise a plan, right? Okay, since it seems that God has restrained my womb, he's holding back my womb. I'm gonna use my handmaid. I'm gonna use my girl. I'm gonna use my girl, my right hand, my girl who she does things for me. I trust her. She knows me. I know her. Though she's my servant girl, she's my slave, and she knows that I'm mistress. I'm the master. I'm her master. But I trust her. I like her. You know what I'm saying? She's cool. I trust her to be able to do this thing. So, I'm sure she already talked to her about it. Hey, listen, I'm going to have my husband come in here and sleep with you, and I want you to get pregnant and bear his child, but you're carrying the child for me. Since I can't have no children, you're going to be my vessel. You're going to be the one to have kids for me. And her being a slave, what's she going to say? No? So, when she went and presented this idea to her husband, right? And he was like, okay, cool. He didn't put up no fight. He didn't put, honey, do you think that's why? Do you think that's really what she would do? He was like, okay, cool. But it's funny how her strong desire to want to have a family was so strong in her that it caused her to say, you know what? I want, because in today's society, you have surrogate mothers. You have women that can't get pregnant, and you have these women that hire themselves out to be carriers for women that can't have children, right? So the only thing is that most surrogate mothers are, this is a voluntarily thing they're doing. It's not like they're a slave or anything like that, right? Even though I have heard of some cases of that trying to be the case where, you paying somebody to be a surrogate mother, all of a sudden you trying to control where they go, what they do, because they're housing your child. So I've heard of cases like that where trying to be almost like, they're on a lock and key. But at any rate, this was her plan. And when she brought this plan to her husband, he was down with it, right? Because they didn't have no family. They didn't have no heirs. They didn't have no children. He had all this, wealth and all kind of stuff, but they had no one to pass it to. She wanted a family. Most women want a family, but at what cost are you willing to have what it is that you want? At what price are you willing to pay to obtain what it is that you believe you want? And that's what it comes down to. Of what it is that we want to obtain. Maybe I can obtain this. Maybe I can obtain that. This is what Sarah said to her. This was her reasoning. She said to her slave and her husband, by doing this, maybe I'll obtain. Maybe I'll get what I want. Maybe I'll have the thing that I desire. Right? I know it sounds very selfish. And to a large degree, it was. Because you couldn't get what you wanted. So now you're going to incorporate someone else into a plan or scheme that you've devised to get what you want. And in order for you to get what you want, not only do you have to incorporate others into your scheme, but they have to agree. You dig? Have any of us been there where we have wanted something and then we incorporate or enlist or manipulate or what's the word I'm looking for, God? When we try to control the situation, right? We try to manipulate the situation, and we tell people things, and we tell them just enough for them to hear, to want to help. And most times we don't tell them the whole 100% get down. We know they'd be like, are you crazy? But most times we tell them just enough to hear, and we incorporate them into our scheme to get what we want. Have you been there? I've been there. And that's not cool. That's not what we're designed to do. That's not what God created to do. That's not what we should be doing. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it doesn't matter if what you want is good or bad. You should not have to manipulate others and have these hidden motives for others to help you obtain what you want. That's not how God made us and designed us. But that's how we operate a lot of times. When we want something and it's not coming fast enough and we can't get it the way we want it, what do? We'll go enlist somebody else's help so we can get what we want. Not considering how it's going to affect them. Not considering how it's going to affect anybody else. This is me. This is what I want. And this is what I'm willing to do. This is what I'm willing to risk to get it. Many people would argue that trial and error is how we learn, right? It's how we evolve, it's how we advance, it's how we learn what not to do, right? By trial and error. How can you learn what to do unless you learn what not to do? And how can you learn what not to do unless you learn by trial and error? Which, I don't know, kind of, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But okay. But anyway, when it comes to trial and error, within it, we make a lot of mistakes because we try something, and if it doesn't work, if it doesn't turn out to be profitable, beneficial, it doesn't do what it is that we want or expect to be done, then what happens? We usually go back to the drawing board and we try again. Trial and error. Right? We tried something. A lot of people don't even go back to the drawing board and try again. A lot of people will try to do something, and if it don't work out that one time, they're like, okay, I'm good. I'm done. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? This past skate event, a good friend of mine had failed. And they were like, oh, I'm done. I said, I'm like, yo, why are you sitting there? I failed. I'm done. I'm like, well, do you want me to help you go back out? Because you really don't want to have that lingering memory of failure without trying to do it again, without trying to have some kind of success, right? That's just human nature. But this person was like, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? It happened one time. They failed one time. I'm done. I'm good. I'm not going back out there. And there's nothing I could do to convince them to try because of that one incident. But a lot of people are like that. A lot of people will try something, right? And they're trying to figure it out. They haven't necessarily prayed about it or got an answer from their prayers before they move. You know, they just doing stuff because they don't know how to be still and see the salvation of the Lord. So they just move. They just operate because they want to see something happening. And that's how we get into the trap. That's how we get in trouble, right? Because we just want to move instead of being patient and waiting to hear and understand and know what it is that we're supposed to be doing in the first place. So I want to talk about, trial and error. I want to talk about us putting our hands to do something, having a strategy or a plan, or kind of have half thought about what it is that we want to do, and then we put our hand to do it, and then it doesn't come out the way that we want, right? Why is that? Because we didn't seek God's help. We didn't pray about the situation before we just start moving and investing and changing our plans and all this kind of stuff, right? That's not how we're supposed to operate. But a lot of times that's what we do. I mean, come on, keep it 100. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. You know what I'm saying? With not being patient. We ready to jump now. We feel like it's the right time. We've been waiting for years, and if we continue to wait, we're going to miss it. We use all these excuses instead of really sitting and contemplating and thinking about how the actions may affect others as well as ourselves. And if that's really what God is calling us and drawing us and leading us to, or is that our flesh? Is that our ego? Is that our pride? You know what I'm saying? Is that our wants instead of what the master wants? So those are the things that we need to look at when it comes to Genesis 16:2. Because we all have, our own desires, our own wants, but are they lining up with what God wants? His will for us. That's what matters. And a lot of times the things that we want to do aren't lining up with God's will. Let's just keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? We get in trouble and we get in a situation, all of a sudden now we asking God what happened. We calling on God for help and everybody else and their mama for help because we done made some bad decisions because we were in a rush, or it's what we wanted to do. It's what we thought was the best thing, but we never got an answer from God of what he thought. You feel me? Now, everybody's upset. Everybody's in a tizzy. There seems to be no peace. You dig? There seems to be no peace. I can remember before this all went down, I had peace in my house. There was peace. Wasn't nobody complaining. Wasn't a bunch of arguing. Wasn't a bunch of, she said and she did and, oh man, just strife. Oh my God. This is not what I signed up for. This is not what I wanted. This is definitely not what I agreed to. But yet these are the consequences and the repercussions of the actions that are done when you don't count up the costs and you don't look at the bigger picture and you incorporate others in your scheme to get what you want. And you're not realizing the effects that it's going to have. Now, before when you had peace, for the most part you had peace. Now that peace is gone. For the most part, you had time to do the things that you wanted to do. Now you spend more time doing the things that you don't want to do. All because of decisions that was made out of self and out of haste and not being willing to wait to get an answer before you just up and move and make decisions and do stuff. We do it all the time, man. We do it all the time. I'm going to give you an example. Thank God this did not happen, right? God didn't allow it to come to fruition to take place. But early in when I was married, okay, my first marriage, I cheated. And not only was it bad enough that I cheated and that, my wife was hurt, I was hurt, especially because that I got caught, but I was hurt that I did it because, I did care about it. I didn't like hurting her feelings, you know what I'm saying? So I was hurt from my own action. I felt stupid and, I was embarrassed for my child. I just had a little young child, but still, I was embarrassed. My child see her dad. That's how I thought, my child gonna remember her daddy doing all this kind of stuff. And I was just so hurt and embarrassed that I had failed my family and my little daughter. And so I had cheated. And the cold part about it was I didn't count up the cost of the effects from cheating and from my actions, right? Now, what happened was the person I was cheating with got pregnant. I never counted the cost. I never thought that would happen to me. That this could be a result. I could be bringing another life into the world. Now there's another person that's affected by this life besides me and my wife and my young child, would be affected in time, the process of this another child coming. That never occurred to me. I was young, was immature, fresh in the service, but it never occurred to me. I'm just thinking, I'll go out here and do my thing, and that's it. I'm gonna do my thing, and it ain't gonna hurt nobody, ain't nobody gonna gotta know, and all that kind of stuff, right? Just stupid. But the girl got pregnant. And so she didn't carry the baby, to term, her, the woman decided that she was going to abort the child. Okay. But the point was, if she wouldn't have made that decision, that would have brought so much change into the situation that I had going on with my wife and my child and what we had in our sphere. Bringing another child outside of us, having to deal with that would have been, I can only imagine how detrimental. So I can imagine how Abraham was feeling. Abram at the time was feeling. Before this, I had peace. Me and you was cool. We was in a good place. We wasn't funky. We ain't had no problems. The slave was cool. Everything was good. But then when I agreed to this, which is not what I signed up for, you did not say this was part of the plan when you presented this to me. You did. But now I got no peace. It's just hell in my house all the time. Now I got a constant here funk between you and your servant. You did. I got a constant here you complaining about her. And this child that you wanted to bring forth. You wanted to have this child. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to help you out because I know how bad you wanted the family. You know what I'm saying? When you brought this plan to me, I agreed to it because this is what you wanted. I wanted the family too, but you really wanted this bad enough. And but I didn't sign up for all of this. All this heartache, all this hell, all this stress, all this anxiety, all this complaining. Hey, I didn't sign up for my house to be in turmoil. Got servants talking, amongst themselves behind and come on, man. I didn't sign up for all this. You did? But a lot of times Again, we incorporate people in our plot, in our plan, in our scheme, and we don't count up the cost, not just for ourselves, but for them and for how it's going to affect them. God didn't create me and you out of trial and error. He had a plan and a design and a purpose. It wasn't, oh, let me create man and just see how this turns out, and if it turns out cool. If it don't turn out, I'll just start again. No, we weren't by trial and error. And because he didn't create us by trial and error or out of trial and error or due to trial and error, you dig? Let us not walk in trial and error. Let us not operate, speak, think, put forth our actions and hand to do out of trial and error. But let us be confident. Let us have heard from the Lord. Let us have been instructed by others that are proficient. Let us not do things by trial and error, because God is not a God of trial and error, but he's a God of specifics, not generalities. You dig? Let's not walk like we're just trying to do this, or, we're not sure. And then we see something else and, okay, well, I'll try to do that just to see if it's going to work. No, let's walk in confident assurity of what God has told us. What we know in here, because he's here. He lives in us. He makes his abode in us. Let's stand in that confidence and know what God has told you and what he has told me. And let's be obedient to what he has told us, because what he has told you may not be the exact same what he's told me. Let's be obedient to what God tells us and operate how he tells us, not doing stuff by trial and error, not doing stuff because this is the result we want to see. And we want to put our hand forth to help to bring about what it is we want to see. No, let's trust God and know that he's got our back, and he's going to bring about everything that we need that's best and good for us by the words that come out of our mouth and by our faith in him. You dig? We don't have to work on a let's see, a trial by error type feel. No, we don't have to work on that. We can walk by faith. I'm going to walk by what I know because of what I've seen God do in the past. I'm going to walk by what I believe because what I know God has told me he's going to do. You dig? Let's not do things out of trial and error and do things by our own selfish desires, incorporating other people, possibly screwing up their life, their plans, rearranging what it is they want to do, and now they gotten caught up in our stuff. Let's not do that, man. You dig? Trial and error is not the way to go, but let's be confident in what God says in his word. Yo, this is your man, Levon. This has been Levon Says. Remember, LaBella E, love, uplift, motivate, inspire, learn, laugh, encourage, and enlighten. LamellaE.com. Go check out the website and the merch. Get your merch like this nice Lamella E zip up hoodie. You dig? Remember to subscribe to the channel. Remember to hit that bell notification. Remember to like the video and share this video on all your platforms. This is your man Levon with your daily motivating content, and I'm out.